It looks archaic now, but I can still remember being blown away the first time I played Virtua Racing. From the moment I sat in that giant arcade cabinet and flipped between all the different camera angles, I knew that it was going to be awfully hard to go back to those old school racers. That nostalgia came flooding back to me while playing through Hotshot Racing, Sumo Digital's love letter to Sega's seminal arcade hit. It's the kind of throwback game that manages to look and feel the part, all while offering some of the elements you would expect from a modern racer. But does this homage lose a bit of its identity by focusing on nostalgia? That's exactly what I wanted to find out. In a lot of ways, Hotshot Racing is exactly what you expect. It's a low-polygon racer with a couple of modes and arcade-style physics, not unlike those early 32-bit racing games that inspired it. There's no story or deep campaign here, but rather the bare essentials to get you speeding around corners and coming in first. It's the kind of game you might expect to see launch with the original PlayStation or Saturn back in 1995. Long before we had to earn a driver's license in Gran Turismo or collect takedowns in Burnout. In that sense, Hotshot Racing is like comfort food. It's familiar even before you accelerate on the first straight stretch. It plays exactly how it looked, right down to the over-the-top drifting and super aggressive computer opponents. And because of that, I had no problem jumping in the driver's seat and beating the competition right from the start. Like I said, this is comfort food, and I gobbled it up. Now, a large part of the reason why Hotshot Racing is so successful is because of the course designs. The game will have you racing on the sunny coast, through the scorching hot desert, into the jungle, and all around the mountain. Each of these 4 locations has 4 different tracks for a total of 16 different levels to race. Well, 32 if you include the mirror mode. What this game does incredibly well is make sure that each stage stands out with a different landmark and eye-catching flourishes. What the game lacks in quantity, it more than makes up for with quality, to the point where I was legitimately excited when certain tracks popped up. From racing through the fossil caves, to experiencing the giant fish tank at the marina, every single stage has something awesome I can point to. Like I said early on, there aren't a whole lot of modes in Hotshot Racing. The main campaign is little more than a Grand Prix that has you racing through the circuits by competing 4 different stages. The idea is to earn money for coming in first, which can be used to unlock different cars, skins, and clothing for the 8 international drivers. Other modes include a cops and robbers game that has you trying to avoid getting pulled over, and an event where your car will literally explode if you don't hit the checkpoints in time. It's a shame that these alternate modes weren't incorporated into the Grand Prix or spun off into something bigger, because as I played them, I felt like there was a whole lot of potential there. Now, true to form, Hotshot Racing runs into a lot of the same problems we saw in Daytona USA and other early 32-bit racing games. The gameplay is solid, though nothing to write home about, but the computer AI can be aggressive to a fault. I especially don't like how easy it is to get knocked off course, which usually results in spinning out and hitting the wall. It never feels like your car has any weight to it, which can be a real problem when a competitor runs right into you without you even noticing. There were just so many times when I would spin around uncontrollably right before winning a race, which can be especially frustrating in the Grand Prix mode. The good news is that we earn turbo boost for drifting, so it's usually possible to salvage the race and get back into first place. Let me tell you, those are exciting moments, but they don't make up for some of the more aggravating and unfair defeats. You know, it's worth mentioning that Hotshot Racing is awfully similar to a game I reviewed earlier this year called Formula Retro Racing. Both games crib heavily from the low-poly look of Virtua Racing and Daytona USA, which will have some people wondering which is better. Well, for my money, Hotshot Racing easily comes in first. Not only does it look and play better, but it has twice the content and online multiplayer modes. Compared to the vibrant and wonderfully detailed backgrounds found here, Formula Retro Racing comes across as flat and plain. Yeah, Hotshot Racing is a clear winner. With great level designs and fun bonus modes, Hotshot Racing is more than just a nostalgia trip. This new game from Sumo Digital perfectly evokes the spirit of those early 32-bit racers like Virtua Racing, all while offering a few modes and extras that you wouldn't get back in the 1990s. It's shallow and it won't take you long to beat the Grand Prix, but Hotshot Racing delivers where it counts. Yeah, this is the spiritual successor to Daytona USA that I've always wanted. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite old school racing game? Were you all about Daytona USA, or were you more into Ridge Racer? I don't know, maybe something else. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with a massive debut of EGM and the launch games, which is going to go over 2 decades of system launches. We're going to go from the Super NES to the Dreamcast to the Xbox 360. I mean, we're going to cover a whole lot of ground. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.